All right, so this is the Purpose Project One. Bear with us. This might be a little bit rough, but we're gonna have some fun out here. This is our guest, Van Rogers. So I guess we're just gonna hop right into it. Van, just before we get into the questions about purpose and meaning and life and all that kind of stuff, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Uh, where you're from, how old you are, where you're at in life.
Okay. I'm 17. My name is Van Rogers. I am a golfer, an avid or a squash enthusiast, incredible pickleball player, and country club kid.
Nice. Do you So you're a country club kid. Do you find any like people often like stereotype country club kids? They kind of stereotype them as like being assholes. Do you want to like how do you view that stereotype? Like, do you think you're like an asshole or
No, no. I think people just think that because it can be true like in some very like small cases, but I don't think that in like the grander scheme of things that every country club kid's an ass. That's just my opinion though.
yeah? I've heard there's always some truth to stereotypes, but in general, there a lot of it's not really true. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with you. You're one of my closest friends. Um, and we were kind of joking about like you being kind of like open-minded. I think I would say like you are, despite like being, I would say like privileged, white male.
Yeah,
That gets a lot of like gets some hate nowadays. So it's good that I don't know
no,
how
yeah, I
to
completely
define
agree.
the stereotype that you're.
I mean, yeah, no, stereotypes are just a bad thing. Because if you think about it, you're just grouping like one person's individual experience with someone and then making it, yeah,
I mean, you're generalizing, right?
exactly.
You're
So
generalizing one person in like an entire body of people, which I mean, you can do like, and you can do whatever you want, but like at the end of the day, it's like what's actually the truth. Like the truth is like the individual person. You got to get to know the person before you actually judge them, right?
no,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's so easy for like people to like say like, oh, this person's privileged, like they don't have any problems, yada yada yada. Um, but in fact, like almost everybody deals with like certain things that um, they might just not express or like show on the outside.
for
I guess
sure.
that brings us to like our next question. I don't know if you're gonna be willing to talk about this a lot, but your journey with like I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but your journey with like social anxiety.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty simple. When I was little, I was very outgoing. And then as I got to middle school, I wasn't as outgoing, a little more recluse. And then by the time I got to high school, I just decided that I wanted to be more outgoing again. So I just put myself into situations. Hmm.
So usually with social anxiety, at least in my case, I have dealt with that a little bit, and I've never like had like extreme cases of social anxiety. But I think first, like I asked you this question is because I think it's so important like to open the conversation about these like problems that are so it's just like stigmatized, um, just especially for our age group, so that we can become more comfortable and have these conversations more regularly. Um, for myself, like with social anxiety, um, I think like most of it is because of like you're afraid of what other people are gonna think of you, right? That's where like that fear comes from. Um, so like now, like clearly you don't really care what other people think about you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's a personality change. I think as you like, at least for me, as I grew up, I just realized that who cares if someone else doesn't like me? Like that was it.
Yeah, that's um that's a great point. That's like obviously like doing these podcasts and like I also have like a TikTok channel if anyone's familiar with that.
Underscore daily underscore mail. Is there
Yeah.
another underscore? Underscore?
I don't know. underscore daily underscore mail, just like the Snapchat, you
That
know.
that's important. You got to get the
Um,
plug in there, Will.
but
And
anyway, like I have some, I wouldn't say like radical viewpoints, but I have some interesting takes on life. And obviously, not many people my age are doing podcasts talking about all this kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about. So, you know, I'm being vulnerable. I'm exposing myself to it's like other people's opinions and stuff like that. So, I mean, this myself is just a process of like me not caring about what other people think and just kind of pursuing what I want to pursue, pursuing my
I feel like
dreams.
there's a difference from doing it online versus in person though, because I feel like when you're online, you have a sense of um, like you feel somewhat anonymous.
Right,
And if you're posting a video about yourself, it's gonna be challenging for anyone. Like you could always just say, "Oh, well, no one in my hometown or no one's gonna see that." At
right.
least that's my opinion. Not to take away from your,
No, you're right. There's a sense of comfort in being behind the screen, you know.
yeah,
I mean, I would agree. I still struggle with the kind of like stating my opinions, viewpoints around people that I don't like, around strangers that I don't really know.
yeah,
You kind of get the point.
yeah.
I completely agree with that statement though. Um, Especially our generation of like kids, especially kids around our age, being like online. Um, you know, we're not really used to that like face-to-face interaction, which is, you know, really critical for a lot of, you know,
I wouldn't say we're not. I think there are some. I think that's another stereotype or generalization. I think there are like specific kids who are not like or like just grew up with iPads,
right,
iPad kids or whatever you want to call them, and they're not very good at communication. But I think as a generation, there are still quite a lot of us who are pretty good at communicating. I
right.
I just think when you get behind a screen, it's so much easier to say shit. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
easier.
entirely.
Yeah, you
Like, I
because
mean, especially like commenting, you know, because it's like you can comment like you can be a complete dick or asshole and like just say like whatever you want to somebody on the other side of the world, and they're never going to see you in person.
exactly.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think that was kind of like I would take back what I kind of said. Like, I guess it's kind of like an older person's viewpoint on like our generation. Is like, oh, like they have screens of technology, so they probably aren't going to know how to like socialize and like interact with people in person. Where in reality, it's kind of like a combination. Like we're getting screen time, but we're also at the same
Well,
time,
I mean, it's a balance.
yeah,
I think there are definitely some people who, abuse that and uh everything in moderation, right? If you just play video games all the time or consistently just look at your phone, I mean, you're not gonna have great social skills. So
to think like, I mean, that's I live by that balance. Like I think that's critical. You know, like whether
yeah,
it's like even like most, I mean, this brings up another topic. Like, look at our society nowadays. Like, I think in my eyes, like most adults, most like people are living out of balance. Like, they're literally like on the weekdays, waking up, going to work 9 to 5, coming back, no exercise, like no hobbies, going to sleep, and like it's just like repeat. Which is like I understand like a lot of people in this video, like watching the video, might say like, oh, like they have to do that for money, like yada yada yada. But it's like if you want to make if you like I know plenty of people that are working 9 to 5s that still like exercise and like still have balance. You know, it's like but the majority of people don't make the effort to do that and they're wondering why they're like unfulfilled. Um
I think people underestimate how much energy it actually takes to get out the door and do things.
that's a
If
great
you
point.
um you just got back from a job you hate or doing something you don't like, you get back and you feel pretty fucking exhausted. Excuse my language. And that's it. You just want to go to bed. So I
Yeah.
mean, I see the point. I see where they're coming from. I really do. I agree that it's probably not a healthy lifestyle, but uh, we're in a society that is run by money, and people are trying to play that game. So
Yeah. So all right, hypothetically, if you were in that situation, because this is all about finding purpose, right? This podcast is all about finding purpose and meaning in life. And if you're working a 9 to 5 job that you absolutely hate, and
mhm.
you know, you're most likely going to be feeling like you're not going to be feeling like a lot of purpose or meaning in life,
Yeah.
because like in all honesty, like it's like I'm not trying to be like a pessimist, but like if I was in that situation, like I wouldn't really have like if I was like working, if I was like commuting to work, say like you got to be at work at like 9 and like
Mhm.
there's an hour traffic. Like get up at 7, eat breakfast, leave at 8, get there at 9, be done by 5, get home at 6, eat dinner, watch TV, go to sleep. Like that, repeat, like that lifestyle, like to me,
Yeah.
like it'd be like my will to live would be very, very low. Unless I had like other hobbies and stuff I was doing on the side. Um, like how would you get out of that situation? How would you get out of that cycle? It's like a rat race, It's like, how do you break that cycle if you're like if you're like really needing money?
Well, firstly, you could just, be smart about how you spend and where you spend. I think that materialism is a serious issue, and if people realized that if they spent less, they'd earn more, which is just kind of comical, right? You see a bunch of people who really can't afford it walking around with designer items, and then, when they come and they're like, why are we still, not in a position of stability? You're like, well, you're not making the most sound financial decisions. I think even if you're in an awful like condition where you're at a job that you hate and you're just working to get money, um, to me, and I know a lot of people view that as a temporary thing. Like at some point you'll get to a place where you feel comfortable to either quit the job or whatever, yeah, your job, quit your job and do something you actually enjoy.
Like a means to an end.
Yeah, I think
In
that
other
that's
words,
a
you
really
gotta
good way
like
to explain it. I
you think
don't think
like do you think like it's like you think it's like normal to just suck it up for like 10, 20 years and just bite the bullet and just you know
I think that's easier than trying to go out and do what you actually want. I think a
really
lot of people think it's easier to just bite
yeah.
the bullet, go out
I mean
and
it is just conform to what most people do, um
yeah.
which is like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, like it's just like to me it just pains me to like see people do things that they don't want to do for like such a long time. Because it's like I know I'm all about like this podcast, like purpose and like meaning and fulfillment. And if you don't have that in life, then like what's the point of living,
No, yeah, that's a valid point. I mean,
I guess like as you said, like in the future, like once they get out of that job, it's a means to an end. So like after they do it for like 10, 20 years and have like financial stability, then they can do what they want. If like that end goal is what they're living for, that makes sense. But if they have like no plan, if they're just like in the motions of like this almost like simulation of doing this like this thing that you don't like over and over again, it's like, oh my gosh, like no wonder why like
yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, that's what school is.
school.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like I love I think education's great, but at some point you have to realize that like the basic idea of education was to make factory workers.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, no, I follow like a bunch of people on Instagram that have strong opinions against school
I mean,
because it's just
I
pumping
don't
out
think you can
workers
say you have a strong opinion against school because I think the benefits really outweigh.
outweigh the cost.
Yeah, but
Benefits outweigh the
I
cost.
just think it's interesting that like if you go back and you look at like school's actual purpose wasn't to be like, well, like its actual purpose was to educate, but besides that, they wanted to breed a generation of factory workers, people who would just conform to that 9 to 5, and that's what school does. If you think about it, for basically until from kindergarten to 12th grade, first grade to 12th grade, you just go every day at 8:15, 7:30, whatever, and then you leave by 3 and you're monitored, and then you just repeat. So I think that that's a comfortable pattern for people, And so when they get into the workforce, they fall into that pattern again. And then they just look to retirement. Oh, when I retire, that's when I'm going to do what I want to do. So
It's almost like a laid out linear path. Like you know what you're gonna be doing at each stage of the process, and you just kind of like,
I
you know,
don't think they know. I just think that it's less a path, less of like a linear path, and more like um school just kind of like once you're done, it just pushes you in a certain direction. It's like this is what's gonna happen.
I guess what I was trying to say is like, you know how life is like, it's very unexpected. Like, you know, it's like you never know what to like to a degree, like you never know
Many
what
would
tomorrow's
describe it as a box of chocolate.
yes. Did I say that?
No,
Oh, I don't know if I get that reference.
okay.
Oh, I get it. Sorry, I get it. Van, this is my thing. Like Van, sometimes whenever Van or somebody makes a joke, like it takes me a
Where's the
while
reference
to like,
from?
actually
What's
get
the
the joke. Yeah, I
reference?
mean,
What's the
life's like a
reference
box
from?
of chocolate. You never know what chocolate you're gonna get. You know, it's a
Yeah, that's a
mystery.
rough.
At the end
That's
of the
yeah,
day, you know,
it's
it is
pretty
a
rough.
mystery.
It's
It
pretty
is a
rough.
mystery. You know, it's like life is a mystery, and we're
No,
trying
you
to
know
like
exactly what kind of chocolate you're gonna get. It says it on the box.
what?
It says what chocolates you're gonna get on the box.
No, but I'm
Like,
saying like whenever you actually bite the chocolate, you don't know which one it is.
no, they're related anyway. It's not a great analogy.
Okay, well, I get the point. Anyway, it's like, you know, we're like, I don't know if it's like subconsciously, unconsciously, we're trying to like make life predictable, which is like, I get it, like control what you can control, but it's like, there's something like almost, there's something almost like unnatural in that, like robotic almost. I feel like if you almost like, it's almost like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think falling into I think for a lot of people falling into a pattern is really good. I mean, I'm gonna take yourself for example. You go on a walk every morning.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's falling into a pattern about things you do. I mean, I wake up every morning and shower. I haven't done
Yeah,
yet. It's 7 in the morning, but that's fine. Um, so it's just we create routines and patterns that we follow. So I don't know if I 100% go with that. I think we're not looking to make it predictable, but comfortable.
yeah.
So
Then that's not necessarily like a, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that's like a problem,
no, I don't think it's a problem. I
like
mean,
making life
I
comfortable.
just think it's what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
It just like, I don't know, to me it just doesn't sit right. I don't know, like if
That
I
pattern.
find it, no, just like obviously if I'm gonna do a purpose project, then we're gonna have to work with what we got. You know, we're gonna have to try to find purpose for the majority amount of people. And the majority amount of people go from school, like high school to college to 9 to 5. And we can't really change that. So it's like, how do we work around that and find purpose for those people? I think that's definitely possible. And it's just gonna kind of like start breaking down the whole experience. Um,
I mean, I think you can. I mean, you're not going to like make a massive social change, but I do think there are a number of people who get out of the education system, and just get out of college or whatever, and actually go and try to attain their dreams. I mean, I saw somewhere that the number of small business owners in our generation has significantly increased. Like people are definitely trying to go out and pursue. I think in the past, that was the stigma, that was the stereotype that happened. Not even stereotype, but that's what actually happened is that people just, decided to do dead end jobs just to live or to get a paycheck to put towards, in a 401k towards retirement. And then when they got to 60 or 70 or whatever they could retire, they would retire. But I think now there's been a bit of a culture shift.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like society's gonna do what society does. People are gonna do what people do. It's like, how do you kind of intervene and, you know, change the narrative a little bit about, you know, what we should prioritize. And it's like, obviously we need to prioritize like money. Like people need to make money. That's just a thing that is kind of like unfortunately been created over time, at least in my eyes. I know you have a different opinion. Um, but it's kind of like, as you said before, how do you balance money and purpose? Like, how do you work a job and then also have other hobbies and passions outside of that job? Like for you, I know it's like golf, history, squash, um, taking showers in the morning, um,
I wouldn't necessarily call that a passion.
like other things. Like, so you love socializing. Like, these are all things like to anybody listening to this, anybody watching this, like you can also like find that if Ben is passionate about this, like you can be passionate about these things too. And if you're not passionate about those things, that's okay. Like I'm sure there'll be other people in this podcast that like will help you like find other passions, or myself that'll help you find other passions, stuff like that. So uh
Yeah.
I think passions like is just like something that is like really critical to like vitality, which is really critical to purpose and meaning. Um these are all like very theoretical things, but I think they're very key to kind of like expanding and like making a better world. It's like expanding
Passion?
just like passion and like vitality. You know like what vitality means?
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
vitality, like I don't know.
vitality.
Like having vitality, like having like like let's go do things mentality. Instead of like sit
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, I
couch and
think it
watch
makes people
TV.
happier.
What's
And
up?
that's what I think that everything we're talking about is achieved through my financial freedom. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to go out and party if you can't afford it. The majority of us aren't. I mean, people aren't idiots. So because we're so privileged to be able to do what we do on a daily basis, we can really, um, you know, we have this luxury to look back. We have this luxury to go say, okay, fine, let's go do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's go into Pittsburgh. Let's do random things.
right.
It's definitely a luxury that I'm not saying is like reserved for people who are well off, but it's enjoyed by people who are well off because they don't have um more sense of financial responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of the catch 22, right? Is
You have to make money to really enjoy life, in my opinion. I think that
see, I would
I'm
disagree with
saying I'm
that.
not saying that you don't have
I
to.
would say to live the lifestyle that you personally might want to live.
I think to live the lifestyle that the majority of people want to live. I mean, you know, I feel like everyone wants to be, you know, warm under a nice roof and enjoying life. And I think that the best way to do that is through financial stability. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's hard. So just to have that financial freedom and then hopefully have, you know, even that financial freedom to the point where you can, you know, go golf or go play squash or go be a country club kid or whatever you want to call
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't. I can still like. I would still argue that like there's still many things that like can be done in all situations, no matter what your no matter what your financial situation is, to gain like a greater sense of purpose and meaning. You know,
Well,
it's like,
let's jump into that really quick though. Okay, so you say gym, you want to go work out. That costs money.
I will cost like $30,
Still, that's pretty sumptuous that, you know, $30 can go a long way. If you're
yeah,
living paycheck to paycheck.
or it costs
Really?
like $10. Like,
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm still saying that like any amount can still go a long way. And then the thing about it is like because our society is structured on money, if like take a gym that's going to be charging you $5 versus a gym that's going to be charging you 30, the one that's charging you five is going to have shittier things and shittier equipment just because it's charging less. So they're not making, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to be as nice as the premium product, which is the $30 gym. So
yeah,
then it's like I mean, it's hard to drive. Like it's harder than to get up and say, okay, let me go to this shitty gym where they may or may not have the machine I need to use, or they may or may not have the weight, and go try to work out. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm sure a lot of people do it, but it's just, it wouldn't be as exciting.
Yeah.
So I think like because our society is built on money, not having it really like makes it challenging to do things. I'm not saying it's
Yeah. No,
impossible.
I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like if you're a viewer of this podcast and you don't have the privilege of like having money, I feel like it'd be discouraging to say like, oh, because you don't have money, you're not gonna have a defined sense of purpose or meaning in life.
No, I mean you can have a meaning
Yeah.
in life, but it's just like, I feel like if like I know for me when I get out of college, like the only thing I'm gonna be focusing on is making money.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think about it, the sooner you get done, I kind of view it as like a bar. Like at some point, I'll reach 100% of whatever like of my goal of, and then I'll be content with just doing nothing, and then going back to golfing and all that thing. I think everything requires a little bit of a sacrifice.
So do you think yeah, no, I definitely, I mean, sacrifice can be many different things. So obviously one of my questions was gonna be specifically um about your viewpoints on money, but you kind of have covered that. So it's like my question to you, this might be a stumper, I'm not sure. It's like, so it's like you're wanting money to achieve financial freedom to do what? And how would that impact your meaning and purpose?
To do whatever I want, I feel like is the best way to say it. I
So
want
like, do you think like liberation in your case, like literal and like physical material liberation is your form of like purpose and freedom and meaning?
in a sense. I mean, my goal is that I want to be wealthy enough or, be well off to the point where I can do whatever I really want.
Yeah.
So instead of like having
I think
to,
a lot of people would say the same.
yeah,
I
like I
mean,
don't want to have to wake up in the morning, go to a dead end job. I'd much prefer to wake up than go golf or go to the beach. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other things I prefer to do. So I view getting money and making money as a means to an end. That's my end.
okay. I mean, I can kind of see. I got you. Let me see. So, is there? Because one of my questions was like, to anybody out there that is really in a divot, in a depression or something. Oh, we got 10 minutes here. Um, is in like some type of like a depression or divot. Like, I would argue that like making a vision board for yourself or like something better in the future, like 5, 10, 20 years down the line, um, is just like key, just because it's like, okay, you're in a bad place right now, but if you envision like yourself being in a better place, like you got something to look forward to, and you
So
never
there
know
was
that
this,
like
yeah,
that could like actually happen.
yeah,
Um,
there was a study that was done that said that showed that people who post their goals and aspirations somewhere visible where they can see it every day were, I think it was 60, 70%, maybe even 90% more likely to complete it, like to achieve the goals. I think that's complete bullshit.
wait,
I
can you
think
repeat that?
if
Sorry,
you have, huh?
can you repeat what you just said?
I said that there was a study that said that if you do a vision board or if you post your goals somewhere where you can see them every day, then you're more likely to achieve them.
Yeah, and that seems like it almost seems like an obvious thing to do. But it's
Yeah,
like
I
it
don't believe
isn't.
in it
It
at
isn't.
all.
It isn't.
I don't think
You
it
don't believe in
is.
that?
No, I think if you have a clear enough mental image of where you want to be and what you want to do, then that should be plenty good. Um, I think in one of the questions you sent me, you were mentioning like the universe and like manifesting. I also don't really fully believe in
That
manifesting.
wasn't that wasn't what I was inferring to. I was saying like, okay, so if you had like a goal or dream, for example, like if you wanted to become like an investment banker, it's like
Uh-huh.
how could the universe like if you if like how could the universe show up for you? Like how could other people show up for you to like help you achieve that? Like
Well, I
not
don't think that's the universe at that point. That's just your connections. That's the other thing that I think is really important in life. I think that the one thing that trumps money,
oh god, we're getting into politics.
no, are connections.
Oh, okay. Well, still, Trump implies politics to me, so it's all right.
Oh, I meant Trump as in like
Oh, that Trump.
better.
Oh, my bad.
You're actually dumb.
Sorry,
Oh, you are.
I was trying to like upgrade the Zoom so we can go for like a little bit longer, and I kind of like I'm not like dumb. I just like sometimes like I don't know. Like there'll just be moments. I'll just have my moments.
Just a little slow every now and then. It's okay.
All right. So you're saying one thing that trumps money?
I think it's connections. I think
Yeah,
knowing people is pretty important.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what else we got. All right. So one of my questions. It's an interesting one. And many people derive purpose and meaning from this. Many people, probably millions, maybe billions. Um, but they're the topic of legacy, like leaving a legacy behind. How much do you like think about your legacy? How much does that mean to you, and how much does that like impact your meaning or purpose, if at all?
I wouldn't necessarily say it impacts my purpose. I would just say that it would be nice to be remembered by other people and not just your family for some deed you did or something you created or a company you founded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing beyond that. I mean, like to be honest, I don't really care if in like 100 years, 200 years that people still know my name. I don't think that's that important because I won't be around to care about it.
never know
But
with modern technology, man.
well, you never know. But in that case, it wouldn't even be a legacy because legacy implies you're dead. In my opinion, I feel like it implies that you've passed. It's what you've left behind.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Legacy doesn't really affect what I do. I'm not like hell bent set on um leaving behind some crazy thing. I think you just live your life, and if other people think it's a story worth telling, then you did something right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, at least for myself, I mean, no, I just know like for 100% certainty that there are a lot of people that that's like one of their driving forces. They're like, I want to be successful in this life to provide for my kids and leave my legacy to my kids, and then their grandkids, so on and so forth. And eventually, as you said before, there's gonna be a point in time when, um, you know, whether it's like 100, 200, 300 years down the line, where most likely your name is going to be amongst the forgotten, which is like not a bad thing. That's just kind of the way it is. Um, but I think like you're saying for the near future, meaning like in the next 100, 200 years, it'd be awesome for like people to like actually remember your name and like what you did. I think that would just be cool.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
awesome. I yeah, uh,
but like, it's just another thing, like, that is just, could be like if that's, everyone's different. So it's like someone watching this might be like, oh, like that's what I want. Like I want to be the provider. Like I want to be like that person that my family like relied on for, like stability. Like that's that's who I am. Like that's what I want my legacy to be, and just go from there. Um, or your legacy just could simply be like, oh, like this person was a nice person, like it's always supportive of other people, like yada yada yada, like nothing, just like simple, short, nothing spectacular. But it's just everyone's different, and there's not
Yeah, I mean,
very few things where there's very few things where there's like one right way to do everything. Very few
yeah,
things, if
I, I
any
don't
at
I
all.
don't think legacy is as important. Just because at the end of the day, it's like you're not around to see the fruits of that. So, I mean, in my opinion, I would much rather, um, it's like be able to set my kids up or grandkids or whatever you want to say up financially in my lifetime and then, have everyone live comfortably so everyone can do what they want. Like I don't think that legacy is all that important at the end of the day. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
No, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like strive for perfection, but accept failure. It's like strive for a legacy, but accept like, accept the fact that it's not going to be like remembered in like the macro perspective. Um, it's like I said, for me personally, I just think it's something, something cool. That's just like a part of life. It's just like being remembered, and like having that ability to remember things. Um,
Yeah, no, I,
yeah,
I agree.
which is like it's a defining, part of humanity.
Yeah.
Next question is we're getting down to the wire, but do you have like a mission or anything you want to do in life? Um, yeah. Like is there anything in life like this like outside like you said that you already like want like outside of college like you want to focus on making money. Is there anything like in particular? Like do you have any like business ideas or do you have like anything that like you just like want to embody or do in life?
I mean, I think not particularly. I mean, I definitely have ideas. I
Yeah.
keep it to myself though. And other things that I feel like definitely could help. I don't, yeah. I mean, everyone has a different path to success, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, hopefully my path will look, I mean, if I do succeed in life, uh, my path will look a lot different from other people, vice versa. You know what I mean? It's a
Right.
very individual thing. I think success is, and I think you have to be doing something you actually really enjoy. I'm really lucky that I enjoy making a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I mean I envy that honestly, like because myself, like I'm not very money driven. And I'm not trying to say like I'm not trying to like state that on like a moral like pedestal. Because like just the fact like you desire money and like you're also like genuinely like you're a pretty good like dude, like on top of like, like you're not like you're somebody that like wants like happiness for like other people, and like I know that about you even if like you don't even recognize that.
Mhm.
um but it's like wanting money is not a bad thing, and like deriving purpose from money is not a bad thing. It's just like I don't know, it's just so many people talking about purpose and meaning might say like, oh, like money is just materials, like it doesn't have any like true value, but it's like yes it does.
Well, we give it value. I
We
think a
give it
lot of
value.
people who say that like just are looking at a system and they don't really understand the system. I feel like if you want to view money, the best way you can look at it as a means to an end. And that could be retirement for you or living a life of fulfillment for me. Like there's a ton of different things that you can take money and go into. But at the end of the day, money is what drives our society, and you're just playing a game
Yeah, in
with.
many ways it's just a game, right?
I think it's just a game.
Yeah, I mean not literally, like don't take that literally anybody, but like
No, literally. I mean, I stocks is literally a game.
Yeah.
You're buying a thing and then hoping off of a bunch of like stupid like things you just read online or like find out or not even find out about it, okay, but like hear about all this stuff and you buy in and you're like, okay, well, I hope that this grows or I hope this doesn't drop. Like that's a game. It's literally a
Yeah.
game. I mean, yeah, I
I
think
mean, it's
that
just like to me, like it's just like uncomfortable in a way, like just to, like view life as a game. But like I know a lot of people do view life as like a game.
not
Like
life.
I
I'm
can
talking about
see.
making money. I'm saying making money is a game.
Yeah,
Right.
no, yeah, but like you're saying, like money is like very central to life in every single part of the world, which it is. It's very central. Like that's a thing that like in a way like
Yeah, having
nobody.
money is essential. I think making money is having money is essential to life. Making money is a game because you're playing against a ton of other people who all have or like basically the same goal as you to make money. And so if you think about that, like for job promotions or pay raises, that kind of thing, you're competing against other people and you have to be the best. So I mean, in my opinion, that sounds like a game to me. And I just think you have to learn how to play that game. I mean, you have to learn how to trade stocks because I mean, if you look at the like uber wealthy, like the most wealthy people in the world, when it says that they have a net worth of $100 billion or $5 million, that doesn't mean that they have 5 million or $100 billion sitting in the bank. That means they have $100 billion of tangible assets. So they have $100 million worth of, or maybe they have 100 some million dollars worth of stock, and then another 100 some million dollars worth in real estate, and it just goes on and on and on.
Right.
And then you also have to like take it and flip it and think, okay, so it's also a game in the sense that we get taxed for what we make, for what we buy in most cases, and for where we live. But there are also ways around certain taxes. So you can say, your company buys a car, you could be like, okay, but this is now, that's a business expense. I can write this off on the 2023 tax year or whatever you want to call it, whenever you bought the truck or car. So I mean, I think what schools don't teach you is how to do that
Yeah.
and that's what keeps the rich rich and the poor poor. And people are like, oh, why don't the top 1% pay as much in taxes? Well, like one, because of the top 1% and they can lobby politicians, and two, because they didn't get to where they were. Well, most of them didn't get. Some were born into like unbelievably rich families, but most of them didn't get to where they were by just, playing by the rules of the game. Like people find ways to cheat the system and loopholes that they exploit, so they end up taking home more money and so it's just that's all it is. That's a game to me with rules with loopholes.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot there. We try to unpack that. So it's like I think like that's like the just like people think like it's like the important thing is getting from like point A to point B, just like the outcomes. Like that's like outcome mindset. But it's like, saying like playing this game, like a lot of the people who really are successful in terms of like monetary value just love the game. Like they care about the money, but like most important, like they just love the game. Like they just love the process, the day to day of going into the office, like looking at the stock market, like making money. To me, like that's hard to believe. But like there are people out there, like you might be one of those people, Van, that like just love the game and like are very money like that's just how their mind ticks. Um and yeah, and then in terms of like obviously like not obviously, but like a lot of those people that are at the top, like, we talk about taking risks all the time. And
Mhm.
like those people at the top have taken so many risks, both calculated and uncalculated, to get to where they are. Um,
Yeah.
and those risks clearly paid off. So it's like, to anyone who is aspiring to be successful in any sense at all, um, you're going to need to take risks. And the best time to start to take risks is as soon as possible, and in any way, shape, or form. Do what like pushes your comfort zone. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just think that like taking calculated risks is so critical.
No, for
Um,
sure. 100%. I completely agree with you. Taking risk is a great way to, um, yeah, you have to take you have to take risks. So yeah, exactly. Good point.
let's see what else we got. We covered like your hobbies. I think like hobbies is another thing that derives like a sense of purpose and meaning just because like it's something that you like to do. So
Oh
as
yeah.
you said, you talked about like I've already mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, you talked about like history, um, golf,
Yeah.
squash, um, socializing. You like being outdoors, chilling in like the pool and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, I just think that if you don't have any hobbies, it's
Hobbies make life a lot more enjoyable.
they do. I think it's
Um,
the
I
extra
actually
thing.
had this conversation with someone a couple of days ago, but they were mentioning, you know, at least for you with like you in particular, like you have golf and you'll always have golf. You love playing golf, right?
Right,
A lot of people don't have something that they can go back to over and over and over again.
right.
So that they enjoy, they'll always enjoy. So I think that's important to realize is that like for a lot of people, they don't have like they haven't found that thing. We're lucky enough that we have. Like I know that mine is golf. I love playing golf. I love playing squash, even though it makes me sound like the whitest person in the world. I also really like playing pickleball. Not so much tennis because,
Yeah.
and then that's really it. So like those things help me. Like if I'm pissed off or if I'm mad, I'll go play squash or golf or whatever. And then or pickleball. So there's just good
Just
outlet.
like outlet. I was literally just gonna say that. It's like an
Yeah,
outlet.
you got it. I mean, I think what sucks about being in a position where you're not actually it doesn't even matter because you can go play like even if you're not financially stable or financially well off, having an outlet is really really good. Um, and it could be really anything. You could play street hockey, you could go play pickup basketball at the park. You know what I mean? Like there are so many things you can do to just blow off steam, and I think that's the most important thing. I feel like when you let that stuff like sit with you, it just becomes really heavy and hard to hard to carry.
Rumination is not ideal.
No, it's not.
Alrighty, well that's gonna be the end of this first guest
I feel like this
show.
was incredibly successful.
Yeah, we thought we did, we didn't it wasn't exactly how I envisioned. I think it was actually a little bit better. It wasn't like a lot of question answers, more of like a conversation. So hopefully, this is entertaining, gets to learn a little bit more about myself and Van. Um, let us know if you guys have anything you want us to talk about. Obviously, this is the first ever episode, so I'm not expecting a ton of viewers, but you never know down the line what is going to happen to this channel. So, peace out, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording right now, and
Goodbye.
have a great day.
Adios.